Hello, welcome to the first video in my relearning how to play the Pokemon TCG series. Now, if you're looking for a tutorial on how to play in the first place, I will link the official videos by the Pokemon Company themselves onto the description of this video. And now that the disclaimer is out of the way, also know that this will mostly be completely unedited. I don't really know anything about editing videos, and I think the candid style of video recording is a lot better. So this will mostly be uncut videos on relearning how to play the Pokemon TCG after being away from the trading card game for about approximately 10 years and seeing how things have changed since I last played. For a little bit of background information, my last ever expansion I messed with was, I think it was the end of X and Y around Steam Siege, which, if I remember correctly, was the last expansion to have dual-type Pokemon in quite a long time. And then they immediately scratched that for whatever reason. So this series is more about looking into strategies that people use in their decks, and also evaluating whether a card that is used in said deck is viable in the grand scheme of things in the deck itself. Now, of course, eventually, once I have a fully made deck that's actually meta, then this will be a lot less of an issue because I can actually post a deck list and show what I'm using. But I literally just started playing the game again last weekend. So just bear with me. I promise as I get more and more used to making these videos for relearning this game, that things will flow a lot more smoothly. Because I do want to have my first reactions to what people are doing in this game on camera. Well, not camera, because this computer doesn't have a webcam, but on video is what I meant. So, for the first set of episodes or so, please forgive me if I stumble over my words. Anyway, let's get started. So first we're going to go to the trading card game. And so what we're going to look at first is a deck list. So let's look at this one, because this seems to be a deck list. Yep, it is. Okay. Now, something that seems very meta right now is specifically using the Sabal, Drizzile, and Inteleon cards. Specifically, can I click on this? Sorry, it's been listed on this website. I don't know how it works. It seems like how it works is as soon as you evolve a Sabal into Drizzile, you can use the ability Shady Dealings to search for a trainer card and put it in your hand, and then the same thing happens with the Centellion. Except with Centellion, you can draw up to 2 trainer cards. Entei is used specifically for Well, let's look at the card first. It gives you yet another extra draw per turn. Another thing that seems to happen a lot in this one is this deck really seems to like scoop up net, which due to Drizile and Inteleon's Shady Dealings ability, essentially allows you to spam the heck out of any trainer card you want per turn. Which makes sense because you can basically empty your deck out of all trainer cards very quickly. And now, and there's also 4 quick balls, which I know what these do. You discard a card and get a basic Pokemon in return from your deck. Level balls is a free Pokemon draw with as long as the Pokemon has 90 HP or less. And I've actually never seen either of these 2 cards except for a split second in the trading card game online because the cards go by so fast, mainly because of match time limits. So I'm going to look into these real quick and see what's going on. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it on the bottom of the deck. If you're the player putting the cards on the bottom of the deck in this way, you draw 5 cards and your opponent draws 4. Okay, I see now. And for Rhydon, you can play this card only if your Pokemon were knocked out. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Attach a basic energy card from the discard pile to one of your Pokemon. If you do, search your deck for a card and put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. This seems useful as well. I can see why this deck is popular. Not only if you need to evolve something, for example, Lotad into Ludicolo, you have Rare Candy, which lets you skip a stage 1 evolution, which means Lombre is absolutely not necessary for this. You can literally just skip Lombre. That's actually kind of impressive. Oh wow. Ability, Enthusiastic Dance. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may use this ability. During this turn, your basic Pokemon's attacks do 100 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, before applying weakness and resistance. That is impressive. I think that's actually kind of cool. I can see why this deck is popular. However, due to the insane amount of discarding this deck has, you are running very close, probably if a match goes on for long enough, to actually losing by deck out, which means you have managed to draw all 54 cards in your deck, excluding what was used as prize cards. And so that means when your next turn occurs, then you're kind of getting an instant game loss if you don't have any cards you can draw. Think of it as like in Magic the Gathering and how in that game, if you run out of cards in your deck, you instantly lose. It's the same principle here. There's just not any lore connotations to it. And so this deck seems pretty good, especially with the air balloon, which I can only presume is used on Entei to make its retreat 1. For those who don't know, because I don't know if Top Deck Academy covers this, with retreat, you basically have to discard energy until you've met the requirement for the retreat, which you can only do once per turn. And for Entei, let's go back to the card, it has a retreat cost of 3. And all retreat costs are typically colorless, as in you can use any type of energy for them. And so what that means is Air Balloon will lower this Pokemon's retreat cost from 3 to 1. And that makes things interesting. So this makes this very interesting. And we're going to look into the energies they have in here now. And this allows you to summon more basic Pokemon, because it's capture energy, and this is its effect right here, which I'll highlight. Of course, we've got stuff like only 4 fire energy. Wow. That's actually surprising. What are they doing? Is this because they have... Wait. Oh. You know what I just realized? They're literally only using the Drizzile and Inteleon for their abilities, because there's no water energy in here. They cannot use their attacks, and neither can Ludicolo or Lotad, except for Lotad using Call for Family, which, if I don't understand why you have to move your mouse like that, but you search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, and then shuffle your deck, which Lotad is basically summoning more basic Pokemon. Moltres, I don't understand why it's in this deck, especially with the massive amount of energy needed. Because that's only a maximum of 90 damage, not counting... Oh, it's not even affected by weakness. Oh, that's... Why is this here? What does this do? Gives 20 plus 20 HP. Interesting. And like I was saying earlier, due to the massive amount of discarding in this deck, because you got there's not really, if something gets sent to the discard, you're kind of screwed, because you will be going through cards super fast. If your Entei gets knocked out, you have no way to get it back. Not to mention, since it's an Entei V, if it's knocked out, your opponent draws 2 prize cards. That means if they can kill 3, well, not kill, it's faint. I'll have to remember that for future episodes. If they manage... No, it's not even faint in the card game, it's knockout. If they knock out one of your Entei V, then that's 2 prize cards in the bag right there. Knocking out 3 Entei V would instantly beat your opponent the game. And while the heat energy make it a little bit harder to knock out the Entei, because, well, it's already got 230 HP, and if you attach a heat energy to it, that goes up to 250. Now I can see why this Pokemon is useful for this, because Burning Rondo can do a maximum of 200 damage at once, not counting weakness and or resistance, which means this is a very good counter to a metal type deck. However, now we're at the second part of the video. I actually want to go look and see how much these cards would cost someone. So that's the next step. I would like to see how much that Entei costs, just for the sake of the video. Let's see. Oh. Well, geez. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then we've got Raikou, which has the same ability. Suicune does too. And all these run for about the same price. Interesting. Very interesting. So now I want to see what in this deck it is really going for a lot. So if we go back, I know the Inteleon, since it's a, not counting, since you can get reprints, since this is a reprint right here, mainly because of the fact that it's a shiny, or radiant as the TCG likes to call it for whatever reason. You can presumably get these cheaper if you buy a earlier copy, especially since these versions existed in earlier expansions, which makes things interesting. Another thing I should mention is that Quick Ball is no longer going to be standard legal as of August, specifically the last weekend of August. And so will Evolution Incense, if I'm correctly. If I'm thinking about this correctly, yes, it will. Unless they reprint it in Astral Radiance. Yeah, if either Quick Ball or Evolution Incense get reprinted in Astral Radiance, then you're fine. But we don't know we don't know everything that's going to be in that set. And so now let's read a little bit about what this deck strategy is. Now, Boss's Orders is one of the best cards in a scenario like this, because you get to choose what your opponent switches out from their bench onto the active slot. And that can make or break a match from my experience. And you can really easily mess up you can easily mess up your opponent's plans if you happen to use Boss's Orders at a good time, which makes this a lot more interesting. And Choice Bell here is specifically meant to knock out any active Pokemon V, because putting that on Entei, which can hit a max of 220. Wait, I need to read that card again. Hold on. Let's look again. Yeah, 220, because the 20 by default. So 220 plus Ludicolo, 320, and adding 30 extra damage to that because of the champion belt. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to call it champion belt. I got it confused with the item from another game. Choice Belt is what I'm talking about here. That's a maximum of 350 damage. That is a guaranteed knockout. And so this deck actually seems pretty interesting. I can see why this would be played. And thus, I think that's a good part. I think that's a good spot to close out this episode on. Especially for an introductory one, just to get people used to how the flow of each episode will go. At least these deck review episodes. So, I think that's where I'm going to leave this off. Goodbye for now. Have a great day.